Right.
Yes.
I'm wondering, is this the government versus Cleophas Malala or the government versus Echoes of War as a play?
I think it's the government versus the people. Our children are only the mirrors of who we are as Kenyans, showing this our government how ugly they are and how they have failed. And it is up to them to actually borrow a leaf and say, okay, if our children can be saying this, that SHA is not working. Well, we in the opposition say it's not working. They didn't listen to us. We have the church, including the Archbishop Moheria, saying this thing, SHA is not working. We're going to shut down our faith-based hospitals. We have the private sector saying this. They don't want to listen. Now it's the children speaking to us. And you remember this tale of the king who had been lied to by those around him that this extraordinary apparel that, had never been worn by any other king. It took a child coming to look at him and say, hey, Your Majesty, the king, you are naked. This is what these kids were doing. But if the king does not want to listen to that child, who may be the one serving him, but the king is naked. We don't see any clothes. We don't see this SHA working. We don't see this university funding working.
The king
so
thinks
it's up to him
that the parents are teaching the children bad manners.
Yes.
To look at the nakedness of the king. This is what we are hearing from all the leaders, from the deputy president. The president spoke yesterday, and he's saying we are teaching our children to disrespect their country, to hate their leaders, and to disrespect their elders. What do you say to that? I can
tell you, Eric, that is a government that is out of touch with reality. In fact, the rate at which they are going. Right. And I would say this to our First Lady, Rachel Ruto. She is really an alumni of this school. I haven't heard her say a thing about her children from her school. Butere should have been the first one to condemn the police for, how do you tear gas children? They were unarmed. They only came to show their talent.
Yeah.
It's just like the 25th of June, just across the road, when children, they only had water and their smartphones, maybe a flag. They were not armed. Why would you have snipers on the roof of Parliament shooting these Gen Zs, little children who wanted to come and say, please don't raise the taxes. Our parents can't make ends meet. Then you go ahead and shoot them. So it tells you it's a government that's out of touch with the reality. And at some point, it might get to the place where the French Revolution started, when the king and the queen had the noises at the gates of the palace. And then the king said, what are those making noise? Oh, the people were broken in the bakeries. There's no bread. Then the queen said, if they don't have bread, why don't they eat cake? It told of a regime out of touch with the reality. I listened to Kindiki, I listened to President Ruto speak yesterday, and I listened to Rachel. Her loud silence about her school speaks volumes. It's like Queen Marie Antoinette, who is there saying, let them eat cake. If they can't, play that, then let them try something else. Please listen to the children. Eugene. Listen to the children. Even the Bible says some of these things will be hidden to the elders, but shall be revealed to the children.
You really think they're out of touch?
I think they are.
You think
the manner in which they've handled this thing
are not hearing that these are echoes from the entire republic?
I think the entire republic has spoken. They are not listening. Now the children are spoken, and you tear gas them. The children come to a parliament to speak to you, and you shoot them. Then after that, you abduct them and continue killing them. What kind of a country is this? What kind of a government is afraid of its own children?
That question on Utovu and Nidham, we'll play the bites when we come back from the break. But that's what the president said, that, we can't allow anything that is teaching our children about whether it's sexual impropriety, whether it is use of drugs, or things that cause them to be disrespectful to their elders. I was trying to look for the politically correct word.
But disrespectful came to mind. I think we're up for a break in about 2 minutes. And we will come back and play the clips, as Mariam said. Just some reflections online, because we're also speaking to our community. The Kikombe says, our leaders and the system we call democracy is our Achilles heel. How radical should we change for the better? In just a few words.
I think we have to start listening. If we can listen to the children, what they are saying, then we should step back and say, if this policy is not working, let's reverse it and try something else. You know, like they started by trying to change every policy Uhuru had brought. Linda Mama was one of the most successful policies where all women can, give birth safely, regardless of who your husband is, whether he's a boarder or an MP or a governor. You are all equal. That creating of a more equal Kenya is really what good leadership is about. But they reversed Linda Mama. It's just until the other day they returned it. We had things like Kazi kwa Vijana, Kazi Mitaani, and they reversed it. So really it's about listening. If we can just do the listening, we can change this country. But we don't have a listening government. We have a know-it-all government. We have a president who is spending a lot of taxpayers on advisors, who cannot advise him, who he advises on how to advise him.
That's how best to receive advice, Eugene. Right? I'll give it to you, and then you can give it to me.
Okay. And then I'll hear myself.
No, he was telling them, including his ministers, if I know more about your ministry and I know more about your department, then I don't even know what you're doing here. Because it tells you of a leader who is micromanaging.
And yet he didn't dismiss them at the point. Let's take a break. Eugene.
And even when you look at most of the plays that have been acted, I was actually a drama buff. I loved drama in school. In Chewayet, I was one of the leaders of the drama club, and I emerged one of the best actors in my O-levels. In A-levels, in Gendia High School, we became the national champs. And at that time, we had this satire about the colonial situation, the building of the Kenya-Uganda Railway, and how the colonialists were treating the Maasai, the Nandi warriors, and making their way. So it was political. But Moi allowed us to go to State House. In fact, I was saying a very unkind thing. I was the Mzungu, guy leading the construction of the railway.
Right.
I was mistreating Africans. But I was epitomizing the worst of colonial atrocities committed against Africans by an administration that was there before. Moi sat there and watched me. Of course, at one point I noted him frowning because I was saying a very unkind thing about the Nandi warriors and what they were doing to, how primitive they were, stopping development. But we were allowed to present. When you look at some of the plays we've acted, the government inspector, in one of my roles, I played the Dobsy twins. And Nikolai Gogo was showing the state of rot in the Russian society at the time. And the divide between Moscow and the rural Russia. And the corruption and the promiscuity and all that. They were able to display through satire what the state of their nation was then. What is wrong with our children doing the same? Right. In fact, I was saying a very unkind thing. I was the Mzungu, guy leading the construction of the railway.
Right.
I was mistreating Africans. But I was epitomizing the worst of colonial